Hi, I'm doing a presentation on preventing patient falls. I am doing this for a graduation project. I'm working on my master's degree. So let's get started. In this presentation, I'm going to define what a fall is, the type of falls that identified in literature, why is preventing falls important in the acute care facilities. We're going to go over the Morse fall scale and assessing fall risk using the Morse fall scale. The only objective is at the end of this presentation, you will demonstrate correctly how to score a patient's risk for falling using the Morse fall scale. So please leave a comment and tell me what score you got. At the end of this presentation, we're going to go over a patient scenario and give you an opportunity to score the patient using the Morse fall scale. And then we'll go over the results. And if you could just tell me what score you got, that would be great. You can also tell me if this was a useful presentation or not. We cannot talk about preventing patient falls without first talking about the Joint Commission. The Joint Commission is reaching for zero. They are leading the way. I know sometimes it can sound impossible to have zero patient harm events of any kind, but with the standards and the recommendations that the Joint Commission has set for us and that they set for us every year, we are reaching for zero. The National Patient Safety Goals, they revise it annually. They get together with stakeholders and they come up with the most problematic safety issues of the year. And they highlight these for us and they give us evidence-based ways to solve these problems. And one of them is they identified that falls in the acute care facility is a major problem. So they recommended that every acute care facility adapt a falls reduction program, and they're free to use any scale that they want. And I am actually going to talk about the Morse fall scale because it has been proven in literature to be a valuable tool to help prevent patient falls. So why is preventing falls important? Well, because falls have a direct and indirect impact on the hospital. For instance, when you have a patient fall in your facility, it's going to increase the level of stay. It's going to increase additional treatment needs. So if they fall, now they may need some physical therapy or occupational therapy. Or if they fall and break a hip, or they have some type of traumatic brain injury, well, they may need surgery. So that also has a direct impact on the hospital. And your patient that once was independent now requires a cane or a walker because of that fall. And as we know, you may or may not know, but when a patient falls in your facility, it reduces your reimbursement. So we are not going to get paid if the patient falls, possibly not get paid or get a reduction in reimbursement because of the patient's falling. Also, with indirect, you have this is where your litigation costs come into play, where your patient, the hospital may settle outside of court, or they may take it to court. Either way, it is costly. Falls can cause serious life-changing injuries or death. Falls lead to isolation. Patients may not want to leave their home anymore because they fear, they lose their confidence, and so they just isolate themselves in the home. And it also gives the hospital a bad image. We know that when something bad happens, it usually gets spread, from community to community, from house to house, from mouth to mouth. So you may lose some patients coming to your hospital. They may choose to go to another hospital if they're constantly hearing that patients are falling within your hospital and getting hurt. They will choose to go elsewhere. So what defines a fall? I've been reading Janice Moore's book, and she talked about this in her book about how defining a fall in the research is problematic because so many different clinicians and have a different definition for a fall. Most will say that a patient's fall is an unplanned descent to the floor with or without injury, whether it's witnessed or unwitnessed. But others say, well, what about the patient that you catch before they hit the floor? When you may lower them into a chair, is that considered a fall? So, but really we should be, I would suggest that you just talk with your HR, look over your policy and see what they define a fall is. So the type of falls that I identified in the literature is accidental falls, unanticipated falls, and your anticipated falls, which account for 78% of all the falls. These are the falls that we're going to focus on. I'm going to focus on in this presentation because these are the falls that we can catch by using the Morse fall scale. Potentially catch. The Morse fall scale helps us identify fall prone patients. And once we identify the fall prone patient, then we can set up fall prevention strategies for the patient. So the Morse fall scale has 6 variables to it, and Janice Morse does highly suggest that when you do the Morse fall scale on your patient that you are in the room with the patient and assessing them, because 2 variables do really require a patient assessment. The Morse fall scale has been proven in literature to be a valid and reliable tool. It's used in many healthcare settings in the United States and around the world. The Morse fall scale helps us to identify why a patient is at risk for falls, and then once we find out what their risk, why they're at risk for fall, then we can set up strategies to prevent that fall. So the first variable is history of falls. If there is no history of falls during this hospitalization or within the last 3 months, we're going to score a 0. If they have a fall within the hospital, the present hospitalization, or within the past 3 months, we'll give them a score 25. History of falls is the most significant indicator that a patient will fall again, so they get a big score if they do fall. The secondary diagnosis is the second variable. If they only have one medical diagnosis, we're going to score them a 0. If they have more than one active medical diagnosis, we'll score them a 15. So what they're really asking here is, how many meds is your patient on? Because we all know that polypharmacy has the potential for additive effects when they accumulate in the body, and that can increase risk of falls. So JACO does require us to get a list of patients' medications when they come into the hospital, and we really should be doing that. And also, I just wanted to make note that there are many drugs and drug classes that increase your risk of falling. So if you do have your patients on diuretics or laxatives and they put on the call light to go to the bathroom, just remember they probably had to go 5 minutes ago. So if you don't get in there very quickly, they will try to get up and potentially fall. The third variable on the Morse fall scale is ambulatory aid. We're going to score on 0 if the patient walks without a walking aid, even if assisted by the nurse. If they are on bed rest, or if the patient just does not get up at all, they're not really at falls risk, and we're going to score them a 0. If they use a crutch, cane, or walker, they get a 15. If they walk clutching onto furniture for support, or if they're non-compliant with the bed rest order, we're going to give them a 30. We all have those patients that are non-compliant with the bed rest order. They just refuse to use the bed fan. So in that case, we will give them a 30. Variable number 4 is intravenous therapy or IV therapy. This is probably the easiest one that most people always get right. Simply if the patient has an IV, whether they're getting something continuous going through it or whether they're getting IV antibiotics. If they have an IV, you're going to score them a 20. If they do not have an IV, you're going to score them a 0. Most facilities, acute care facilities, has protocols, from my understanding, that everybody has to have an IV unless you have a doctor's order. So most people will fall under the 20 category in the acute care facility with this one. The fifth variable is the gait. This is where we need to observe our patient. If the patient has a normal gait, this is the patients whose arms are swinging freely and their head is held high. Also includes bed rest and bed-bound patients. They get a 0. A weak gait is when your patient is stooped over, but they're able to lift their head while walking without losing balance. They may have short steps and the patient may shuffle, but they don't really grasp onto furniture to hold on. They may touch it, a featherweight touch, but they're not trying to hold on to it to stay upright. They get a 10. Impaired gait. These are the people who are clutching onto the furniture to stay upright, or they're clutching onto their walking aid, and they cannot walk without it. These are the people who have a hard time getting up out of the chair. These are the people that are constantly looking down at the floor, and they might grab onto your hand so tight that your knuckles turn white. They get a score of a 20. Mental status, they get a 0 for normal mental status, and they get a 15 if the patient is considered to overestimate his or her abilities or is forgetful of limitations. You need to ask the patient, are you able to go to the bathroom alone, or do you need assistance? And it should match up, what their answer should match up with what is in the doctor's order. If it does not match up, or if it is something that is just like way out there, then they're overestimating, then you're going to give them a 15. If they're confused and you can't ask them this question, you're going to give them a 15. If they say that they're independent, but then when they get up, they have to use the cane or the walker to walk and maintain upright, well, they're overestimating. You need to give them a 15. And then after you do all your variables, you're going to add up your score, and they're going to fall into one of these categories. High risk, 45 or higher. Moderate risk, 25 to 45, and low risk is 0 to 24. Most people go with the high risk cutoff of 45 or higher, and that means they're at a high risk for falling. But whether they fall in either one of these categories, your hospital is probably going to have some interventions for you to put into play, depending on which slot your patient falls in. Janice Morse does recommend that all patients admitted to the hospital be screened for falls. Upon admission, rescreen once a shift. When there's a change in patient status following a fall, upon change of level of care or transfer to another unit. This is simply just because that your risk score will change depending on a change in patient status. So we need to reevaluate the patient. And you also need to do it from day shift to night shift. For an example, you got a patient that is alert and oriented during the day, but they have sundowners at night, and they're more confused at night. That's going to make their mental status score go from 0 to 15. For an example, that's why we do that once a shift. We score them once a shift or any change in patient status. In conclusion, this is just telling you what I've already told you. Here's the patient scenario. Please feel free to pause this if you need to read it, but it just says a 74-year-old man with chronic foot ulcer was admitted to the telemetry unit with chest pain, shortness of breath at rest. On admission, the patient was found to be alert and oriented to place person and time. He had an IV in place. He was placed on the cardiac monitor. During the interview, the patient reported that he walks with his cane, independent with his cane. However, the admitting nurse noted that the patient's orders for ambulation was with cane and assistance only. After further questioning, the patient reported that he had several falls at home over the past year, most recently 6 months ago. As the nurse assisted the patient to the bathroom, she noted that he initially used the bedside table and other furniture as a guide and needed to be reminded to use his cane. Once he was given the cane, the patient walked with short, steady steps to the bathroom. And here is the Morse fall scale. Please pause this and take a moment to score the patient and then come back to the presentation. So the results Patient scored a 90. One, because he gets a 0 for no falls because he fell 6 months ago. Oops, secondary diagnosis